We've even seen a referee 2 feet from the play on the sideline staring at the guy trying to catch the ball, staring at where his feet are, and still calls him out.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, absolutely, and showing that he could possibly be the GOAT.
All right, but I gotta say something about the New England Patriots here. The Patriots kept coming out and saying, before the Super Bowl even happened, they kept saying, oh, well, everybody's against us. Bullshit.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, tonight's guest is a senior analyst for the HuddleReport.com and host of the Draft Nick Unleashed podcast, Drew Boylhart. Drew, thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me tonight. Appreciate it.
Well, no problem. We're excited about the draft. I know you are. I know this is your bread and butter here. You focus on it all year round, I'm sure. And so what do you have really planned for tomorrow night? Do you have your own personal war room set up? I mean, what do you do for the whole draft?
Well, years ago, my two sons and I'm a single parent bringing up two boys, and we used to do it together. But they're grown up. They're out of the picture now. So it's just me sitting in my room with my computers and the TV and sometimes the radio on when I don't like what the TV is saying, and just sitting in having hors d'oeuvres and drinking wine.
Oh, well, that sounds like a lovely night. Definitely, sounds good. And
staying classy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember reading the excerpt for your book that you have, The Draft Nick. And I remember in that one you're saying back in, I think it was 2009 or something, or you were looking at the Buffalo Bills, who they had drafted, and you were yelling, throwing your Fruit Loops around at the screen, and how upset the draft pick was, and how you were upset with whoever made that decision to do that. And I thought that was hilarious. And I'm sure that's how a lot of other fans are.
Yeah, that was a little early in the day. It wasn't nighttime, and I was sitting there with, earlier in the day, eating some Fruit Loops, and the Bills picked Aaron Maben, and I just threw up. I had to clean up Fruit Loops for a month around that living room. I swear to God, it was horrible.
Oh, man.
Wow.
All right. So I'm sure everybody feels you there. We're going to get right into it. There's been a lot of speculation on what the New York Giants will do in the draft. Do you think, maybe they go quarterback first? Is it going to be edge rusher? Now, in your opinion, what do you think they should do?
Well, the defense is just – I just think the quarterbacks are not going to go as high as everybody thinks they're going to go. Mm-hmm. I really do, because I think teams are just scared of one-year wonders, and They're nervous. And if the Cardinals don't take Murray, he drops. Now, if the Cardinals don't take Murray, then the Jets are in a good position because maybe somebody wants to jump up. But I really think the Giants are looking at Devin White, the linebacker, because Gettleman keeps saying the best player in the draft, so forth and so on. Mm-hmm. And, to me, his style with where he's coming from with the Panthers and their linebacker and what he did, he's got to think that Devin White is going to turn that defense around for them, whether they need an edge rusher or not. He's got to think that way. So I really think that they'll be looking at Devin White at that point, and maybe a edge rusher later on, or the quarterback Daniel Jones later on at 17. Now, they could move back up with the Bills. Mm-hmm. If the Bills aren't happy with what they're getting at number 9, and I kind of picked Christian Wilkins for them. Mm-hmm. But if they're not thrilled about what's laying down for them, I think the Giants and the Bills might do a little bit of a twist there. Oh, wow. And and I think that's where they'll move up and pick the quarterback.
Okay.
But if they don't move up, I think they'll wait for an edge rusher a little later on, like I don't know, Brian Burns, somebody along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I see you mentioned Devin White, and he could be intertwined with this question. Is there a can't-miss prospect worth trading up for, and who?
There's never a can't-miss prospect as far as I'm concerned. I mean, everybody will tell you that this guy is this and this guy's that. I mean, how many quarterbacks have we talked about who can't miss? And Josh Rosen was can't miss last year, and he was number 10. I mean,
Is there such a thing for a safer pick? Who's the safest pick then?
I really do think Christian Wilkins is a safe pick. I think Devin Bush, the linebacker from Michigan, is a safe pick.
Okay.
Andre Dillard is a safe pick. The tight end Hawkinson's he's pretty safe. And Jonah Williams is definitely safe. I mean, he's a safe pick. So there are a lot of safe picks, but
right.
They're not necessarily guys who are going to change your defense because they're a safe pick.
True. Yeah. Real quick, this one too. Now this might be kind of like the same question, I guess, but is there, in your opinion, is there a steal in the draft that you have in mind?
Oh, there's plenty of steals. One of the reasons we do a two-board system at thehuddlereport.com, we do a two-board system. That is, we separate out the talent board from the value board. The value board is your stock market, where players go up and down and back and forth depending on what's going on in the media and what rumors are going on. My talent board is I do the profiles, I put a talent grade on them, and that's it. End of story. I don't change it. I don't move it. I don't care what the rumors are. I go by film. I don't interview players. I don't get it involved in them. I just, to me, actions speak louder than words. So I take everything from the film and I give them a talent grade, and that's it. Then when you go, we marry the two boards together now, and you can see down in 200 or 100, I may have a first round grade on somebody. Okay. Jalen Hurd is a perfect example from Baylor. I have a first-round grade on him. We don't expect him to be taken until after the 100th pick. So that's how you can find Ben Powers from Oklahoma is an offensive lineman. He's at 138 right now. I have a first-round grade. Now, if I'm right, you got to steal. Right. We won't know if I'm right for another 3 years. Now, I'm not saying I'm correct, but it gives you an idea where the possibilities are. Later on in the draft. And I always say every single round you have to be picking like it's the first round in the draft. You have to find talent.
Agreed.
In every single round. You can't, there's no Mr. Irrelevant anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've talked about somebody that you might see further on, that people expect maybe further on in the draft, maybe push up to the front. Now, in that same aspect, do you see a prospect that was expected early, maybe sliding tomorrow night?
Yeah, well, I don't understand how Rashawn Gary is even thought of as a first-round pick. I mean, it's just amazing to me. He has no production whatsoever, yet he's the most talented, physically talented person. That really sets a red flag up for anybody. I mean, let's be honest. But, and he's a guy who could really drop like a stone. If I'm right, he drops like a stone. Then there are other guys that, may jump up. There's Amani Hooker and there's Daniel Savage. These are safeties who nobody's been talking. And Daniel Savage, this guy can play on either side of the ball. That's how talented he is. He could be offense or defense. And he's an amazing talent. And for some reason, he's not around. And, the Font kid from the tight end from Iowa, Noah Font.
Noah Fant, Yep.
Yeah, Fant. Everybody loves him, man. I see him as a cross between a slot receiver and a wide receiver, but he doesn't run any of those routes. He runs tight end routes.
Huh.
So
interesting
to me. Yeah, and he's a move receiver, too. I mean, and his blocking is minimal at best. I don't understand him, and if people think the way I do, then he'll drop like a stone. But, I'm talking to myself. A lot of people don't think the way I do. So.
It's Drew Boylhart from the huddlereport.com, and I checked out the website again last night, and I love the way everything's structured on that thing. It's really easy to handle, and even when you click on every tablet or tab that they have, the way it's broken down and into different sections and stuff, really easy, and I really enjoy the website.
Yeah, thank you. Everything in my profiles are on the talent board. I've always been arguing with Rob to put the word profile up there, and he refuses to do it. I'm always afraid that people aren't going to find the profile. And the profiles are totally different than most profiles. There's not a lot of information as far as stats and that type. What I try to do is get into why a player, no matter how talented or not talented he is, why I think he's going to be or not be a good player at the next level, and I do it through his actions on the field and what I see. So that's why you may see a person like I talk about Jalen Hurd and Daniel Savage, and I'm thinking of Andy Isabella. Well, everybody knows about Andy Isabella, but there are players. Jacoby Myers is a ball player that a lot of people don't know about, and I just saw him at the Senior Bowl. It's a Senior Bowl practices, and I said that kid is a ball player, and nobody's looking at him, and he might not even be drafted. So
wow.
Hopefully these are the things that you'll see, and you get a better, hopefully a snapshot or a picture of the person themselves rather than a whole lot of stats and informational stuff that everybody has.
Excellent.
Yeah, definitely. Now, there's been talk about the Jets. The Jets have been aggressively looking to trade down. If they stay there, people are thinking that they should go defense, to try and build up that line, possibly Quinnen Williams. But do you think if there is a team interested out there to trade with the Jets to move up, what team do you think that might be?
Well, first of all, it depends on if the Cardinals take Kyler Murray. If the Cardinals take Kyler Murray, the Jets, I think, will stay there because they're either going to get Nick Bosa or Quinnen Williams, and they're not going to pull out of there if one of those two guys is there.
Right.
But if the Cardinals don't pick Murray, then I think the Jets, because that means the first two guys, Bosa and Quinnen Williams, will be off the board, and that means that I think the Jets will be pulling out then. And at that point, it could be the Dolphins or the Redskins, but I think it's too high for those guys. I don't know if they're gonna put all that into it, and I don't know if either one of them is. I mean, who are they going to go up for? Josh Allen would probably be the only one anybody wants to go up for, and I just don't know if they're going to give up that much to get up that high. So I think the Jets are kind of stuck where they are, whether they like it or not.
Right. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Well, I was just kind of thinking the same kind of way because, like you said earlier, with the quarterbacks, it's funny now how when it's now almost draft night, you're seeing some of these guys kind of tail back, and people are maybe coming down to a little reality because they were talking it up so much, and how some of these teams might make a run on some of these quarterbacks and move up. And what do the Giants do if they don't pick a quarterback at the 6th pick?
Right.
Are they going to miss out now because somebody might jump in and leapfrog them? I mean, I don't know if it's like that. This draft is kind of like that. Like, who are you going to trade up to, or what are you going to use to trade up to get, really? When you can kind of sit back and how deep it is in defense and things like that, you can still get a good value pick for where you are.
Absolutely, but the other thing about it is this defensive players. There's a lot of bust, there's a lot of potential bust in it. I mean, you have a lot of guys. Nick Bosa hasn't been on the field; he's been injured a lot.
That's
true too.
Quinnen Williams is on the field for 1 year. Josh Allen had to come back because he didn't have a great year, so he came back to prove it. Is he a 1 year wonder? I mean, Ed Oliver, he argues with his coaches on the side of the field. So who really wants to move up for anybody and take that chance of giving up other picks to get a guy who's a boom or bust guy? I mean, so even though we're full of defensive players, we're full of defensive players that are boom or bust in that top 10. So I really don't see a hell of a lot of movement there. I really don't. After we're all said and done.
Absolutely. And the other part of all that is trade value. How much do you have to give up just to move up a few spots, 4, 6, 8, 10? Right now, nowadays, the trade value chart and everything that kind of people use as a guideline, draft picks now are more valuable than they ever have been. That's how teams are seeing them.
Right, and the compensatory picks are tradable now. So that adds to the mix of, do I hold on to them or do I trade them, or can I trade them because I didn't expect to get them? So what's the big deal and how much are they worth? I never know how much a compensatory pick is worth.
Yeah, Drew, and
nobody's ever told me. So
I know. Some people don't even know the word.
Somebody says, "I'll take your compensatory pick." Well, what's that worth?
Drew, I want to get your opinion on this too. Now that you brought up compensatory picks, Do you agree with that formula, that system that they have for compensatory picks, or do you think it would be better if they just took out those comp picks altogether?
Well, the comp picks add now that they're tradable. All right. Before
Okay.
I would argue and say they were, we should do away with them.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they're tradable, now they have trade value to them, whatever that may be. Now they become a useful item to have and to gain. And now free agency, everybody understands what the Patriots have been doing for years and how they've been letting guys go and picking up these compensatory picks. And now they're worth their weight in gold because you can keep a third-round pick and get rid of your original third-round pick and still have a third-round pick. So however they do this formula, and it's I don't know why they just don't tell us.
Right.
Why this has to be a big secret, I don't know. I mean, we got formulas all over the place. Why this particular formula is a secret, I don't know.
Yeah.
Other than keeping it a secret, I think it's good now because they're tradable.
Okay, and this kind of ties in with that same question. Do you think that, do you think the NFL should issue compensatory picks for teams just happen to lose out on re-signing their own free agents?
I think the way it's done is good because you have the option of signing or letting him go, and you have the option of signing and letting him go at different spots of the month too. I mean, that enters into them, and I think it's fine. You're going to let go a big star that's been causing you problems, and he's in his last year, or you're not going to pick up his fifth year, and you get something back for it. At least you don't get your first round pick, but at least you get a third round pick. So I think it's fine. I really do.
Okay.
Now you're talking, drafts, picks here and there, and now say the Cardinals do go and get Kyler Murray. Now it shows that they want to try and rush or move Josh Rosen. What do you think his particular trade value would be then to move him out of there?
Well, they have to move Rosen before the draft, or they have to keep him. Period. End of discussion. Because the day of the draft, it's going to be worthless for them to pick Kyler Murray and then try to move Rosen.
Right.
Because no one's going to pay him anything for Rosen.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
So
tough.
the only way they get anything at all, and that's probably they're lucky if they get a second rounder at this point, because Rosen did not prove that he's any better than the quarterbacks in this draft last year. I don't care what anybody thought about him. I had a second round grade on him. I was never that high on him because I didn't feel his leadership was very good, and I didn't feel that he was that good moving in the pocket and so forth and so on. So I was never that high on him, and I was in the minority.
Okay.
But he went last year, and even though he had a bad team around him, Josh Allen had a bad team around him, and he got everybody excited. Sam Darnold had a bad team around him, got everybody excited. Baker Mayfield got everybody excited. I mean, you didn't have to win to get somebody's attention and get people and the fans excited. You just had to show on the field that you had something to offer that was unique, all right? Josh Rosen didn't show that. So now these guys in this draft are just as good as Josh Rosen because he didn't show anything. So what do you give up for him? I might as well, if I'm interested in the quarterback, I might as well wait till the draft.
Yep.
That's and this is the problem that the Cardinals are in, and so they have to decide what they want to do, and they better, if they want to get rid of him, they better take it before the draft, because if they do decide to take Murray and they're sitting there with Rosen, he's dead weight at that point.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We were talking about Josh Rosen here and everything, and Kyler Murray, and what did the Arizona Cardinals do? Do you think, in your opinion, is Kyler Murray worth that first overall pick?
Well, he's a unique talent. There's no doubt about that. Okay. The difference between him and Haskins, in my opinion, is minimal. You could flip them. It was just like last year with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. I felt you could flip them any way you want. I love Kyler Murray. He's a very excitable. You have to understand this is a business. He's going to sell tickets.
Absolutely.
The minute you sign him. All right. So it's important that the Cardinals, and my opinion, the Cardinals are dumb if they don't pick him because they need to sell tickets. And they'll sell tickets faster than they ever sold them before. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, they don't. Well, he's going to drop. Are the Raiders willing to pick him like everybody thinks? I don't think they're willing to pick him at 4 because they got Carr.
Right.
And there's no reason for them to pick him at 4, and they know what they have. So, and they have other picks in the draft. They can always move up.
Correct.
So he starts to drop, and who's willing to go up and get him when he starts to drop? That's if I'm waiting for a quarterback and he drops, that means all the other quarterbacks are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting where I am waiting for whatever happens to happen. So that's my theory about these quarterbacks in this draft. I like them. The only one I'm not wild about is Drew Lock. I think there's a problem with him in the pocket, dealing with adversity in the pocket. But I like Daniel Jones. My picks on the way I rated him on the Huddle Report was Haskins, Murray, Jones, Finley, and then Drew Lock. I love Ryan Finley. I think he's extremely underrated, and he's first round talent. But he won't be picked in the first round. So there's a little bit of a sleeper for you.
Excellent. And for all the know-it-alls that are out there, you can tune in. Check this site out. It's legit. It's full of information. Anything that you could possibly think of, these guys have it rated. They have all their specs listed, size, weight, speed, the whole spiel. It's thehuddlereport.com. Make sure you guys check it out. Drew,
we're the only ones that keep track of the mock drafts from all the media.
Yep.
We've done it since 2004. You can go on there and see who's the best at doing mock drafts.
Yep.
The 100 board, the top 100. We keep track of all the top 100 boards. We've done this since 2004, so you know who's the best at handling. We have an over 80% accuracy rate on our top 100 board. In other words, the people that we pick get picked 80% of the time in the top 100. So
nice.
those are things that we have unique. Also unique is the 2-board system that we use. But I think you'll enjoy it. We've been around since 2004. I've been following the draft since 1979 when Joe Montana didn't get picked, the first pick in the draft, and I was shocked.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were.
An idea how long I've been following it. So,
there you go.
And I'm doing public profiles since 2004, and they were in the archives. And you can go back and see any one of those profiles and see how bad I did it and how good I did.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Definitely.
It's a great site. I urge everybody to check it out. Now going back to the draft here, I wanted to ask you and get your opinion. We see this every single year for the draft. We see some kind of shift in the draft, a surprise pick, a trade that happens. What do you think is going to be the biggest surprise of the draft, if you were to guess?
Well, we talked about the quarterbacks; they could drop, so that's a serious thing there. The other thing, the surprise is, the biggest surprise will be how many trades are there or are there not. Okay. After we've heard how long, how many days, how many times people are moving up, I think there's not going to be very much movement at all. I think the Lions may trade out if somebody wants to move up a couple of spots because they think a quarterback drops. I think the Lions may do well. And I think the Bills have the potential, if a player isn't there, that they want to move out. But I really don't see those top 6-7 guys move. The Buccaneers might move out if Kyler Murray drops and somebody thinks that somebody is wild about getting him. But, the funny thing about this is, somebody could move up. If Kyler Murray isn't picked for the Cardinals, somebody could trade up and pick Haskins instead, and Haskins might be the first one off the board. Wow. And that might shock a lot of people. So there's a shocker for you. Yeah.
Excellent. Real quick, I wanted to play. I kind of made this up while I was figuring out questions and for you and thinking about different scenarios that would happen in the draft. I wanted to bring this up, and I think you pretty much answered a couple of them already.
Right, probably.
But I like to call it smoke or fire. So is it just people blowing smoke and just kind of leaking out all these different various stories, or is it fire or some truth to it? So the first one is, will there be 7 tight ends drafted within the first 2 rounds of the draft?
Well, that's pretty hard to do. The talent is decent there. Everybody to me has overrated the talent and has, I think, rated the talent ridiculously at some point. You've got three guys who will probably go in the first 2 rounds: Hockenson, Font, and Irv Smith from Alabama. And then it's going to drop off. Drew Sample could sneak up in there. And that's about it to me in the top 100. Okay. I think a lot of other guys are going to go later on. You may throw another one in there, but I'd say 5 are your best bet.
All right.
But I don't think 7. No.
Yeah. Okay. So so we got smoke on the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second one, Dwayne Haskins will plummet down the draft board.
I don't see that. There's too much talent. Now, when you say plummet, where is plummet? Are you talking in the 20s?
Yeah, 20th or later.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to. There's too much talent there.
Smoke.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another smoke one. Number 3, Cardinals are already in negotiations with Kyler Murray.
that is a big possibility. And again, we get back to the Rosen thing. If they take the trade on Rosen before the draft, they've been in negotiation with Kyler Murray. I think they have been because the agent has already met up with them a couple of times, and I really do think that that's a very good possibility.
Number 4, DK Metcalf will be a top 15 pick.
No. There's too much injury factor there more than anything else.
Yes. Yep.
He'll go into the 20s. It's a possibility. I don't think he'll go in the second round. I think he'll go in the first because he runs 4.3, and of course everybody tells you that doesn't mean anything. Combine numbers don't mean anything. That's why they have the combine.
Yeah, well,
he'll go in the 20s, I think.
Yeah, even when you look at his 3-cone drill and his short shuttle, the numbers weren't that good. They were kind of porous. So you got to kind of wonder about his ability to run the routes, and it shows in his game film. His routes aren't as crisp as they could be.
Yeah, that's no doubt. I mean, he relies more on his speed and stuff. But, he does have a unique talent. He does go and get the ball. And he's kind of believe it or not, to me, I saw some Lynn Swan type stuff with him. He really, somebody will throw a ball and you say, well, hey, he's never going to get that.
And then he
finds a way to get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he's unique in that way. So the numbers don't, I always say this about numbers and stats, they don't tell the whole story,
Right. Right.
His injuries are a factor, I think, in those situations. And I think if he can stay healthy, he'll be a unique talent.
Okay. Number 5, 5 quarterbacks will be drafted in the first round.
Well, 2, 3, 4. I think it's just 4.
Just 4? Okay. So just edged out.
It's just 4. I mean, the only one that might slip in there would be Ryan Finley, maybe with the Patriots at the last pick. The last 32. Yeah. And that's a real. I mean, I'm going out on a limb on that one.
Number 6, emerging Maryland safety Darnell Savage will be a first-round pick.
Well, I talked about the Patriots just a second ago, and I kind of feel that that's where he'll stay. I equate him to Troy. Remember Troy Brown from years ago?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He played offense and defense for the Patriots for about 13 years. Well, I think Darnell Savage is the same type of player.
He's a special player.
Would not shock me if the Patriots take him at 32.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's Drew Boylhart. You can find him at thehuddlereport.com and also the Draftnik Unleashed podcast. Drew, we thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate all the insight and hope you have a great time watching the draft like we will. And we'll see what happens here. Yeah, see if anything takes form.
Yeah, I started getting nervous 4 days ago. I started getting butterflies. So I want to thank you very much for having me on, and thank everybody out there. If you ever see them, shake their hands and thank them for me too.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.